Hello and welcome to Chapter 10. Today we're talking about the Middle Ages in China. So last time we talked about India and we kind of mentioned the whole Buddhism piece. Let's just jump back a little bit. So in the Chinese dynasty song, everybody sing along. So we got Shang Zhou Chen Han, Shang Zhou Chen Han, Sui Tang, and then we got the song. So let's talk about them. So after the collapse of the Han Dynasty, there is massive civil war and unrest, just a very long, bad period for China. And at the end of this, a new dynasty comes about, and of course that's the Sui. And the Sui dynasty has to deal with putting the pieces back together for China. And one of the big things about the new Sui dynasty is, okay, so this is kind of a connection with last time. Buddhism spread to China in part because of trade and in part because, Confucianism in the eyes of some Chinese people had failed. The government had collapsed and there had been a long, really bad period in China. So people are very open to new ideas like Taoism and Buddhism. So that's the Sui dynasty. That Sui is very successful. They have one of their biggest, longest lasting things with the Grand Canal, which, connects the capital with either the Yellow or the Yangtze rivers with a canal. So it allows much greater ease of motion because, you can move a lot more on a boat than on land. It makes moving stuff around, transportation, all that stuff easier. Again, history isn't always big political ideas. A lot of times the success or failure of a country can be determined by how quickly they can move things and stuff like that. After the Sui dynasty comes the Tang, and the Tang is a very cultural period for the Chinese. You have lots of poetry, books, and stuff like that. You can find that in the book, the more individual ones. But as a big picture thing, very good time culturally for the Chinese. After the Tang comes the Song dynasty, and while the Song dynasty is not necessarily a failure, they're it's pretty nice while they're in charge. In the end, they get taken over by the Mongols, which opens up a new, not super fun period for the Chinese. So now we got a new dynasty, the Yuan. So just to recap, and I guess this is when we get to talk about the Mongols, which I've been looking forward to. So here's the little Genghis Khan spiel. So Genghis Khan grows up, very rough childhood, and he starts his own little group, and he unites the Mongols by accepting everybody and moving past some of the more conservative aspects of Mongol society. And so in doing so, and looking past the old class distinctions the Mongols had, he's able to unite them and make this crazy army. And of course, he's a brilliant general, which, doesn't hurt. So Genghis Khan himself does not take over China. That goes to his grandson, Kublai. All right, and then I guess we'll do the quick. So the Mongols take over quite a bit. And so you have Genghis, right? And then he has a couple of sons. Let's see how good we can do this. You've got Chagatai, Ogedei, then you have Ptolemy, and there's a fourth son, not super important. But the big thing is you have Ptolemy's kids take over the Yuan dynasty in China, and the others have to recognize Ptolemy's, or Ptolemy's descendants rule over them. So that's like the Yuan dynasty in China. And so Kublai finishes the conquest in China, and it's a very big, powerful thing. Then you have the Ilkhanate, which is the Mongols who run this area, Persia, and then you have the Chagatids, take over kind of Central Asia, and then out here, the Golden Horde, which is the descendants of Batu Khan, and they run early Russia. And so one of the things that happens is in each of these places, the Mongols aren't a great amount of the population, so they kind of change and adapt and become like the people they're with. So, you know, the Yuan dynasty starts to adapt some cultural things that the Chinese have. They also try to invade Japan, the Yuan, but the Banzai winds stop them, you know, some typhoons hit them, and that is unsuccessful. So, the last, I guess is like a fun fact, the last Mongol type Khan of a local area is deposed in the 1920s when the Red Soviets attack, or they take over part of Uzbekistan, so around here-ish. So yeah, and so my dear listeners, are the Yuan dynasty run by ethnically Han people? No, of course not. It's Mongols. So the Chinese kind of chafe under this foreign rule of their country, especially by someone they consider, you know, kind of a historically barbaric people to them. And eventually the Mongols are run out and replaced by the new Ming dynasty. And the Ming bring Confucianism back in a very big way to the Chinese people, and they use it in running because, you know, now it seemed that Buddhism and Taoism had failed to stop the Mongols. So, you know, a lot of things in Chinese history are very cyclical, and, you know, the ebbing and flowing of certain ideas, which jives with China's like yin and yang philosophy, which is kind of overarching. So now we got the Ming, and the Ming, under them you have Zheng He going around Africa and lots of exploration, and the Ming are very advanced both technologically and maybe not the same level of art and literature that had existed under the Tang, but still a very advanced dynasty of China. And next time we'll talk about the effects of China on the people around them. I'll give you a hint, it's very extensive, so look forward to seeing you then.